In your journey learning how to produce music, you probably ask yourself this at one point. What separates me from the pros? It's the big question, right? Well, I've worked in the music industry for 15 plus years at this point. I'm Grammy nominated. I work with a multi-platinum producer. His name's Elvis, pretty cool guy. And in that, you really start to see what separates the pros from the home studio guys. It's the little nuances, and it's really simpler than you think, to be honest. So I thought I'd put together this list of 5 things that I think make a great producer great. And if you like these tips, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there for more videos like this. So before I get started, I just want to say that these aren't really rules, but more so observations of things that I see that tend to happen. Because in the audio world, we're kind of lawless over here. We're rule breakers. Every situation's different. Some things require creative solutions, is what I like to say. At the end of the day, we're problem solvers. That's really what we do. But nothing can replace this first thing that we're going to talk about. Performance. Performance trumps everything. Performance is pretty much the basis of what we're doing here. We're recording performances, capturing magic, capturing lightning in a bottle sometimes. And that's something that the pros really just lock in on. Maybe because they've heard so many musicians over the years and gone through so many takes and recorded so many different things. But ultimately, the thing that separates them from normal people in that regard is just the ability to notice things. To notice the little nuances in a vocal, maybe the way someone sings a word, and on drums, maybe there's just a certain shuffle that a drummer does that someone picks up on and they really like that and they emphasize those things. And that's something that I've noticed the top level producers really just, they lock in on it and they lock in on it fast. And it helps keep things moving, plucking all these little things out of the air, trying to create this culmination of every magical moment that someone's ever done while in your studio. And sometimes there's this focus on perfection, but I don't mean that in the sense of gridding everything and tuning it perfectly and, sucking the life out of it. I mean, for them, there's this perfect vision that they see, this sort of painting in their mind of what they think this song can be that you've shown them and what you can do as a musician. And grabbing all those things ultimately in your performance is the first thing I would say that separates pros from your home studio bros. Now, number 2 is borderline a songwriting thought, but it applies in a lot of different ways. Dynamics. Dynamics are something that I don't think a lot of people think about. The thought of something being soft and then loud, or maybe sparse arrangement and then complex. If you listen to a lot of classical music, I think you'll really pick up on the dynamics that I'm talking about. It's not necessarily purely just playing quiet and loud, but, it's the difference between just a basic drum beat, and like the bass guitar and a vocal. And then in the chorus, you come in with these slamming guitars, this thick, heavy, down, something like that. Or maybe you're playing something, and then you stop. Boom, boom, and then you go back into the song. Those little moves, any of those little things are kind of basic ideas, but it's something that I see producers apply pretty much every song. You want a song to be a journey. You don't want it to just necessarily slam you in the ears. I mean, I'm sure there's some music that's for that, but I think ultimately most of us are trying to capture magic, right? As we said in the performance, capturing magic. Well, dynamics can be part of a magic. I mean, think of Whitney Houston when she hits that high note, and when she hits that moment, it's just all these things leading up to this mountain peak of a moment that just boom drops the hammer. It's kind of the finale of that piece. And that's something that the top guys are always paying attention to because they're trying to make every song the best version of what it is. At least that's what I've experienced with the guys I've worked with. That's what I do. You want to make a song the best that it can be. You don't want to replace the song with yourself. I think a lot of people interject themselves a little too much into a song sometimes, unless that's what a band wants. That's cool. But to me, it's about finding those ingredients, finding what it is about their songs that make them special. And the dynamics, the performance, those are two things right off the bat. Before you even put up mics, before you plug anything in, those are two basic things that you can focus on that'll get you closer to being pro. Now for number 3, this one's gonna seem silly, but sound selection. Sound selection is key when you're recording. You need to know how to get a good sound, or maybe a creative sound. I think a job as a producer is sometimes just going through sound libraries, just, seeing what all your kick drums sound like, seeing what all your snare drums, playing around in your live room. If you got a few different drum kits, make sure you know what they all sound like. Maybe make sure what they're capable of doing. Ultimately, you could kind of get a lot of different sounds out of different things. So if you can do that faster because you have a thought in your mind of like, oh, all right, big fat rock drums, Ludwigs, a big fat Ludwig kit would give you that Bonham style. Knowing that, or hey, I want this 80s electronic drum sound. Okay, that's like a Lynn drum set or a Simmons type thing. Just knowing where those exist, what they're used in, how to get them. Or if you just maybe have a library of your own that's organized in some capacity, or if it's guitars, you have your pedals, just spend some time with whatever instrument it is. Are you a guitarist? Set up your amp, move the mic around one day, try a bunch of different stuff one day, just experiment on some off time. Make sure you're always trying to learn and evolve and find new tricks, basically. I mean, we're all kind of building a big toolbox here. You need different tools for every situation. And we're kind of hoarders in that way. We're always looking for tips and tricks and new pieces of gear, advice, because ultimately we love learning. At least I do. I love learning. I love trying to grow as a producer, and being in a place like this and working with the people I get to, like, it really opens your mind. It really also shows you how simple some of these things are. These things aren't as complicated as we think they are. It's really just spending a lot more time than we think on things. Spend the time on sound selection. That's a big thing you'll spend time on in a studio. We have a whole day dedicated to getting amp tones. What guitars are we going to use, because you're going to be tracking guitars for days on a record. Might as well spend a day getting the right sound. Same applies with drums, bass, vocals. Give yourself some time to get the right sound, because that, in combination with the performance and the dynamics, all those things, all 3 things so far, those already add up. You're not even mixing yet. You're not even at the final stages, and your songs are going to start sounding that much better. 3 tips so far. Let's go to number 4. Number 4. This one is also a big thing I think a lot of people struggle with, and that is how to grow. Now, when I mean how to grow, I'm talking about how you're going to grow as a producer. How many sessions, how many hours, what do you need to do? How much work do you need to put in to get to the level that you want to be at? And I can tell you right now, if you're the kind of guy or girl that's focused on doing one song and you mess with that song for like a year, you need to move on. You need to just make more music. That's one of the biggest tips I could probably tell you from even when I started out, was the second I started shifting over to doing this thing where I would create like a song a day or just a part a day, I'd basically open up my session every day, blank session, or maybe something I just want to mess with, and I would just create every day. I would experiment. I'd try new things, try and write songs, a verse, a chorus, whatever it is. I would just try things, and through that, that's when I started to grow faster, because you're making more mistakes more often. And it's not that you're necessarily making mistakes, but you're going through new experiences that are going to lead you to that growth that you're looking for. If you're just doing the same song and you're just playing it over and over and over again, and you've got it sounding pretty good, I guarantee you, 95% of the time that you're messing with it after that, you're making 0.1 differences that no one's hearing at that point. You've just gone down the rabbit hole. It's time to move on. So basically, number 4, do as many songs as you can. Do as many projects. Experiment as much as you can. You have all the time in the world. Why spend it all on one thing when you could spend it on 1,000 things? So for number 5, another simple thing, pick up the pace. I know, right? Just work fast. That's crazy, right? No, it's not crazy, because when you've got a band, dude, the worst feeling is just hyping yourself up, right? You know, you woke up, you had your bowl of Cheerios, you had some Jägermeister, you're ready for your morning, right? You're ready to start playing, do whatever you're supposed to do. And then you get into the studio and you find that the engineer and the producer are working on something's broken, I don't know. It's just not set up. They're not ready to go. Well, all right, that's cool. You wait for 5 minutes, you're good. Well, 4 hours later, you're still dealing with something, and you start to kind of lose your vibe, your energy, that mojo that you had that you were going to use to deliver greatness. And I'm not blaming anyone there. Accidents happen, stuff happens, things break. I mean, look, anything could happen. And it's kind of the job as a producer, is mitigating those things. If you know that you're going to need some time, you better let the musician know, hey, dude, I'm going to need like a few hours before we start today to get something set up. I don't want you waiting around, go kill some time, have some fun. Just knowing that, doing that, thinking that ahead, and that's something big. It's just preparation, really, Drums. You don't just not have the drum set up when the drummer's there. You have all the drums ready, they're tuned, mic'd up, ready to go. Drummer can sit down, play, do their part, and it's easy goings. That's what you want ultimately. And like I said, stuff can happen, but the better you can get at trying to either plan for those things, if it's a setup issue, if it's just purely setting up, just plan for it, let the band know, allot the time, so that whenever you are recording, whenever the band is gonna come in, it's just ready to roll. Take care of the under the hood stuff while they're not around. Just try your best to do that, because it keeps the vibe good, it keeps the energy positive, and it just keeps things rolling in a smooth fashion. I think a big part of making music on the higher level of things is really keeping people in a positive mood. We record for weeks at a time. You're away from family, you're working hard, long hours, long days. It's kind of mind-numbing stuff, and the better and easier you can make it for the artist, the better music you're going to get. You're going to get the better performance. You're going to get all the things you need and want that are going to help you before you even mix. Like, these are purely things that you can do that are free. They don't cost anything. They're observations from being a fly in the wall with people that you probably want to see, seeing bands that you couldn't even imagine watching them play. It's magical, and trying to capture that magic is something I think we all want to see, we all want to experience, and hopefully these things help you get there. And if you have any questions about any of these 5 things, maybe you have questions about more things, leave a comment below. I try to make a video about every week. Sometimes I'm busy with sessions like I am this week, but either way, I'll always try and get back to you guys. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. Peace out.